What's the lifestyle of a professional squash player like?
The lifestyle is very on the go. I think if you don't enjoy traveling, it's probably not for you. Because I'm on a plane multiple times a month, and that's just how it goes. So you're always on the go somewhere for whatever reason. But the day to day is, I wake up, I have food, I go train, I come back, I have food, I go train again, and then it's getting dark and I go home, have dinner, and go to bed. So if you don't enjoy training, then it's gonna be really difficult.
Hello, this is James Green, and I'm here for another Boast About It, this time with one of the US's best women's squash players, Marina Stefanoni. Marina, welcome. Thank you so much for coming down. It's great to meet you.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Marina, I got so much actually I want to talk to you about, but as I really like to do in these things, let's start at the beginning. You come from a pretty athletic family. It seems like both your parents were athletes, your sister's another squash player. How did you first get into squash, and did it compete against other sports?
Yeah, so I started playing squash when I was 9. My dad introduced me to it. My mom had played JV squash at Harvard, actually. She grew up playing tennis, but she took to squash later on. And then my dad picked it up and started playing for fun post-grad. Not super seriously, really, but it was just a sport that they were familiar with.
Yeah.
I think because a lot of people aren't familiar with squash, so that was my way in. I played soccer growing up, and so then when I was 9, I started doing soccer and squash. And the team aspect of soccer when I was little, I just really loved to run around and score goals. So that entailed being a ball hog and
Yeah.
just doing my own thing because I didn't really understand the why pass it if you could score. I really enjoyed it. I loved soccer. But at some point, I would be taken off the field if other girls weren't getting the chance to score and do all that. So if I scored too many goals, they'd take me off, and I was a little kid, so I didn't really understand that. I didn't like that. And my dad definitely didn't like that because he wanted me to be able to flourish in whatever athletic endeavors I was taking on. So he thought an individual sport would be better. That way, once you're in the squash court, there are no restrictions really.
Yeah, you're in.
It's you against your opponent.
Yeah.
And parents and coaches can be blabbering outside, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Squash was something he knew, so introduced me to it. I liked it. I was just sort of an athletic kid and loved all sports, so I got better fairly quickly. And I think within a year, I won the under 11 national championships. And from there, it was something that I knew I could take pretty far.
I think getting better quickly is an understatement, because if I understand it right, you won the under 19s at 13.
Yeah, so I've been playing for
So you'd been playing for 4 years, and you
which I've
were
actually not really thought about, but yeah.
you won the under 19s. So yeah, I think you got better pretty quickly. Yeah, I agree. What was that
Yeah.
like as a 13-year-old to win the under 19s? I mean, you were playing against women.
I mean, they were way more mature than me and had many more life experiences than I had had at
Yeah.
that point, but I just viewed it as we're playing a game of squash and I can run around and I can move them and I can be creative and expose some weaknesses, and I just was sort of about my business. I honestly didn't think that much about it. I was just on court to do a job and trying to do it as well as I could.
That's one of the things I like about squash is I find it's a little bit like Zen meditation. You can't think of anything else. It sounds like you feel the same way. When you're on court, there's a single-mindedness that comes in. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, and the best match is obviously you're sort of in that flow state where then you're not really thinking about anything at all and
Yeah.
it's just happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't think about too much other than what shot you're hitting, otherwise
Yeah.
things are going to go wrong
Yeah.
very
The
quickly.
number of squash matches I've lost because I was thinking about work, I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
Then you went out, and I think you won a whole bunch of international junior tournaments. When I looked you up, I think you won the Swiss, and I remember the British Open, the British Junior Open you won as well. Are there any particular squash matches in your junior career that sort of stand out, that resonate, that you still think back on and think, wow, that was something?
British Open, Junior Open 1 year. I think it was the under 15s. I was in my down year. So playing girls who are a year older, which at that age makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And I was down 2-love to Jana Shiha, who I know is in the New York area and has been at Open Squash a little bit. She was beating me 2-love relatively handily. I just remember I couldn't return her serve very well. And then I came back and beat her in 5, I think. And I just remember nobody expected me to win. I was the underdog by miles. And winning that match was just a huge, like, oh, okay, I can do this and I can beat players that are supposed to be a lot better than me. Like, I am good.
Yeah.
Even on the international stage.
Yeah.
And then I think also in World Juniors again, I don't remember the year. I think it was 15 though, in New Zealand. I was unseeded and I took out a 3-4 seed to make the quarterfinals of the World Juniors. And it was a huge win. And again, nobody expected me to win. And I don't even remember the match at all. But there's a photo of me like jumping up, double fist pumping, which I don't do. I didn't remember that happening, but it
Really?
did. There was just so much going on, I think. I was so
Yeah.
focused on the match and trying to play my best that I didn't want to think about anything external, like a win. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So you had this junior career, and then you like many of the people I've interviewed recently, got into Harvard, and you had a career there, and you studied economics and astrophysics.
Yep.
It's not the most obvious combination. You want to tell me a
No.
little bit about the astrophysics part of that?
Yeah, I was studying economics and I was almost done with the major. I think I was in the beginning of my junior year, and I was in a class with one of my teammates, and they were talking about something, and I really just didn't agree with how the class was being taught, and I thought it was that I wasn't getting anything valuable out of it.
The economics portion.
This
Yeah.
particular
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
And I had already wanted to do something sort of pure science. And
Were you doing that in high school? Was that a thing for you, the science side? Had you always been interested in that?
yeah, I mean, I took like the biochemistry, physics, but I felt like I didn't get enough of that in high school because I did high school in 3 years because I wanted to finish college earlier so I could play professionally for an extra year.
Wow, so
before
even
I'm
as a
done.
junior, you were like, I am going to go pro.
Yeah, that was the plan. But so there were some classes I didn't get to take in high school that I would have liked to, because a lot of my friends were sort of the very nerdy STEM type people.
Love them,
which
love
I
them
love.
all. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So college, I didn't really feel that in economics, but I was sort of under the impression that as an athlete, you just do economics. I don't know why I thought that. I felt like I was just sort of wasting time a little bit, but I was almost done with the major anyway, so I wanted to finish it. But I added on the astrophysics and really worked hard the last 2 years to get that done. And it was an amazing experience. I got to do some research with an amazing researcher who works at the Center for Astrophysics, which is tied to NASA, like and planetary defense. So
That's so
it was
cool.
really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I felt very fulfilled graduating with the academics, and I felt like I got the most out of it that I could.
What's something that you learned in astrophysics that maybe some of us who haven't studied astrophysics don't know?
Probably the most interesting thing is the very start of the universe, the Big Bang Theory, and
Yeah.
the different stages, and how it was like nanoseconds that the universe was filled with just plasma, or it was in like a radiation stage, and it just flew by so quickly. But there were all these different stages that interacted with energy differently, and that all had to happen for us to be here. And it's a little hard to wrap your head around, and I honestly can't explain why it happened, but I did really enjoy learning about that and seeing some of the research behind it.
Yeah, there's so much about astrophysics that I love, including the thing for me that is just so amazing is when you think about the distances between things today, like it's just how many stars there are in our galaxy, how many galaxies in the Milky Way. It's just like
Yeah.
crazy.
And how
Crazy.
far we can see just with the technology that we have.
Yeah.
We can see places that we'll never be able to go.
Yeah,
So it'll just take too long to get
Yeah.
there. So
and we're seeing them in the past.
yeah.
Yeah, so very cool. Congratulations. So when you weren't doing cool things in astrophysics, you were on the Harvard team and you were going pro. So you sort of did a hybrid thing there, which, I mean, some people, you know, I was talking to Gina Kennedy, who sort of focused more on her studies, and I talked to Victor Crouin, who did more of what you did. He went into it. How was that?
I think it kept me busy in a positive way. I think I managed my time really well. And I mean, professors weren't always happy with the amount of class that I would miss, but I always did the work, always made it up, and I got good grades, so I can't matter that much.
You just went to them and said, hey, you know, I'm so sorry, I got to be in Switzerland for this tournament or whatever. And
Yeah, usually I would try to go to them before the classes actually started, like after my first class, and say, hey, I'm an aspiring professional athlete as well, and it's something that's important to me, and I might be missing class, and just let me know how I can handle it. And some professors were more lenient than others and accommodating, but at some point I did get to the point where I just would just not show up, and then I would make sure the work was submitted because everything was online. Yeah, but it's definitely much better. If anyone is watching this who wants to go to college and also play pro or do anything else that requires you to miss class, definitely tell your professors and get permission rather than ask for forgiveness. I think it's the better way to go.
Yeah. So there's a pretty storied coach at Harvard, Mike Way. We interviewed him a few weeks back. What was he like as a coach for you? What did you learn things from him? Did you enjoy your time there? How was that?
Yeah, I would say the main thing I learned from him was I changed something in my backhand because he had had opinions about it from when I was a junior. And obviously he wouldn't share them until I was actually under his tutelage, but my backhand used to be sort of tight to my head a little bit, and I didn't really have the space that was required to just hit a better ball, a cleaner ball. So we worked on that during COVID year where it was just freshmen on campus and we had to wear masks and we're just allowed to solo. So it's kind of boring, but we could really hone in on some of the technical aspects of the game, particularly for me, my backhand.
And the idea was just literally you were holding your hand too close to your body?
Yeah, it was just a little bit here. Like imagine the racket's here. My hand was like sort of about chin level, but tight to my head, whereas now it's a little more away from my body, laid back. And I think it suits me very well. I like it.
You get better for everything, more power, more accuracy, just
more. You can't tell as much what shot I'm gonna hit, and
more deception.
I think everything is nicer.
Everything.
I love my backhand. So.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
So then, after Harvard, you went pro. What was that like, going out of Harvard and going pro for the first time?
Full-time versus sort of part-time with school was a huge difference. I sort of sat in the rankings around between 50 and 60 my entire time at college. And no matter, I was improving for sure. I felt like I was getting better. I made a lot of strides in my game, but I think the fact that I was always doing work right up until a match or not getting enough sleep because I have some paper due, things like that, took a toll more than I imagined. So the moment I was free to just play squash and just focus on squash, I started off at 58 in the world. I finished with my highest being 25.
You're right there now, right? I mean, 25, 26.
Yeah. And that was sort of my big goal, was be top 25, and I hit it sort of at the end of the season, and it just showed that if you're really focusing on one thing, you can pretty much maximize. So it's just very freeing to not have the school anymore on top of the squash.
You're wearing a U.S. national team shirt. You were one of the people who went down to the Spectre Center to train there.
Yeah.
Are you still training there? What was that like?
Immediately after school, I went home and I was just with my parents for a couple months before I checked out apartments and figured out if I wanted to be down in Philadelphia. At the time, we didn't have a national coach. We were sort of in between the two coaches. So it was a bit of a leap of faith, me moving down there. But there is someone who's been there for years, Bridget, and she's our strength and conditioning coach, and I've known her for a long time. She was one person there that I felt like if I make the move, she'll make sure that she's doing as much as she can to help me, even through squash, like getting a coach in if there's no national coach. So she was a huge draw for me to go there. I'm very grateful I get to work with her. It's been good. I've been there for 1 year now, I think.
And they hired a coach.
And they hired a coach. So we have Nick Taylor there now is the Gannick family national coach. And then Kareem Ibrahim is the junior national coach. And so both of them together will run sessions and I get to hop on court with them, which is awesome. I also do train in Connecticut a fair amount with Kumail Mahmood at Sportsplex. And so I get to stay with my parents and train there. So it's sort of a second home base that I have, Philly and Connecticut, which is really nice just to sort of change the environment.
The U.S. women's team are performing about, I think it's the best we've ever had. I mean, we have yourself, we have the Sobey sisters, we have Olivia Weaver, and we have a couple of others bubbling up underneath all of that as well. Do you guys have a camaraderie together?
So Amanda lives down in Florida, so I don't get to train with her very often. Olivia is between Philly and Connecticut. She lives in Philadelphia, but she trains with Rod Martin in Connecticut a lot. But I'll hit with her if I'm ever in Connecticut overlapping or in Philly. She's been honestly very inspirational and helpful to me, which I really appreciate. And she doesn't have to be because she doesn't have to focus on other people, but I think she's a very giving person and a good inspiration for younger players. And even me, I'm younger than her, but I'm on the pro tour. But I really like how she handles herself and how she goes about being sort of the leader of U.S. squash on the women's side.
Or is she sort of the de facto, well, I mean, she's the highest ranked, but she's also a spiritual kind of leader for the group, you think?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, Amanda as well, because she's been playing,
Yeah.
I think this is going to be her 16th year on tour,
Yeah.
I think she was saying.
And she's been a
And
top five
she's-
player as well.
I mean, she's the most successful U.S. women's player we've ever had,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to learn a lot from her as well. And so both of them have had very positive impacts on my career thus far. I mean, it's only been a year, but
Yeah.
they're just amazing people. And I'm glad that we share a flag that we can play under. And playing with them in Hong Kong for the World Team Championships was amazing because we took second place, lost out to Egypt. But I think we all feel like we're knocking on the door.
Having the U.S. as number 2 to Egypt is a huge win. Like,
I agree,
you know,
yeah.
huge win.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And we're able to back it up. I think, I don't remember how many years ago it was that we took second place, but we've been backing it up and showing that we are ready for the next step, maybe to take over one day.
Yes.
Hopefully in my career
Yes.
lifetime. I mean, it's amazing. We have so many talented girls, and we're all four of us are doing really well, I think. Yeah. Hopefully it's inspiring some younger girls who are in college or even earlier to pursue a professional squash lifestyle.
So-
Inspiring people.
What's the lifestyle like for a young, you know, if you're going to talk to a young woman who's starting to play squash, what's the lifestyle of a professional squash player like?
The lifestyle is very on the go. I think if you don't enjoy traveling, it's probably not for you. But because I'm on a plane multiple times a month, and that's just how it goes. Even for when I'm supposed to be sedentary, I'm on the go. Like, I'm here. I was in Philly. I had to wake up at 5:30 in the morning to get to New Jersey to train, and then come here, and then now I'm here, and then I'm going to Connecticut, and then I'm back to Philly, and then I'm off to Egypt, and then yeah. So you're always on the go somewhere for whatever reason. But the day to day is, I mean, I wake up, I have food, I go train, I come back, I have food, I go train again. And then it's getting dark and I go home, have dinner, and go to bed. So it's a pretty, if you don't enjoy training, then it's going to be really difficult. But there are ways to make your training fun and enjoyable, like the people around you, the community you can build. It's like, I guess it's like any job. If you don't like the people you're working with, it can be kind of a slog. But yeah, you got to find good people and be willing to put in the hard time and the hours. It's cool. You get to make friends from all across the world playing these tournaments, and that becomes your network. And obviously you can, this day and age, you can be on social media and connect with them and maintain connection.
Is the Olympics, are you just zen about that? That it's coming, I'm just going to do my thing? Or is it an inspiration to you? Do you think about it much?
I'm pretty zen about it. I think I wanted to play professionally before the Olympic decision came out. well before the Olympic decision came out. I honestly thought we would never make it in, just given that squash hasn't gotten the traction that some other sports have. And I thought about it the other day. I think if I were able to go by 2028, it means that I have achieved the trajectory that I want in my professional squash career specifically. So it would be a sign that I've done what I wanted to do rather than, oh, I'm working towards that in particular. But some players are different. Some players are trying to
Yeah, no,
peak for the Olympics
yeah.
or,
I mean, I interviewed Nouran Gohar and I said, what keeps you going? You've been number one. Like, what gives you courage? You're like, the Olympics, So that's definitely true that there are some people, it's their North Star. I think yours is a healthier attitude, by the way, being zen about
different
everything.
stages of career as well.
Yes,
I think
that's true. Yeah.
It would be tough to be super just focused on that.
Yeah.
Sort of lose sight of, we play 15 to 16 to 17 tournaments a year. So if I'm only focused on one that's 3 years away, that wouldn't be very good.
Yeah. It has had a side effect, though. An unexpected side effect is that US squash, because we're in the Olympics, has to have athletes on the board. And so you were one of several athletes, 5 maybe, 4 or 5, who joined the US squash board. What's that been like, participating in the US squash decisions and being part of the governing body? What's that been like?
Yeah, I think I'm the youngest one, so it's a little, I wouldn't say intimidating, but it's a little, like, I feel quite inexperienced in terms of understanding the information about how the organization works and how decisions are made. But it's nice to get sort of an inside view into that, because I'm just there in the center every day, but I don't know the inner work. I didn't in the past know the inner workings of US squash as a whole organization and the scope at which they function. So it's nice to be involved in that and feel more like I have a voice and I have the ability to vocalize what the athletes need. And not just that, is just understand how the junior circuit is working and all of that. But it definitely is nice to have a few athletes on the board so that we aren't overlooked. And because at the end of the day, the players that are playing for Team USA can hopefully inspire the juniors to continue squash throughout their post-college and maybe play pro. And I think if you don't have a strong Team USA to represent what could be for squash, then you get just some kids that peter out. And I don't know, I think we can have a very positive impact, and I would like to help make decisions that help make that happen.
Do you have any sort of goals, any sort of big things that are happening with US squash, or goals that you'd like the organization to do?
Well, I think recently they have come out supporting the access courts. So it's a cheaper version of a glass court that you can build for less money, and it takes, I think they say, just up in a day or something. So I think having pop-up courts like that and just making it a little bit more accessible will be good.
We are also very excited about outdoor courts in general, putting courts where you would expect a tennis court or a handball court. Let's also have a squash court. You recently played, did you get through one game on the steel court? No, you didn't even. You didn't finish that game. What's the experience like playing outside versus inside? How do you like it?
I like it. I've also played outside, like in Egypt and other locations.
Oh yeah, because
because
they put a glass court. Right, that's up outside. Yeah.
But it's a really fun experience because you can feel the air. Like, you just feel a little bit more connected with nature in a nice way.
Yeah.
And I think it suits me, especially in the summer, because I can sweat all day, I can run all day, I'm fine. But I think other people struggle a little bit with the heat and the sun beating down on them and just can't get enough oxygen. So. And
you feel that's
your
superpower. You're good.
Yeah, I mean it'll hurt, but it's just pain.
Yeah. Spoken like a true squash player. That's just pain.
What do they say? Pain is just weakness leaving the body or something. That's what I've heard.
So as we round up the interview, what are your goals for the next year? Last year you wanted to get into the top 25. You got there. What do you want to achieve the next year, either on or off the court, or both?
I think I could be top 16 level by the end of next year.
It's so tight in the space that you're in. There are so many people with similar numbers of points.
Yeah, it's
in-
very tight where I'm at, and
Yeah.
then there's quite a large jump up to 20. There's like a 100-point average difference,
Yeah.
which, if you understand the points, it's pretty large.
Yeah, yeah,
That's like making almost an extra round in every event
Yeah.
compared to what I did last year. So, a big ask, but I definitely think that I can do it, and there's no point in not shooting high. So, yeah, it would be nice to finish there. And just my squash, I just want to be happy with how I'm playing, and I want to feel like I'm getting the most out of every match. Whether, like, even if I'm not playing my best, I want to maximize what I can on the day and just not have any regret about it. I think the whole season I maybe had one match where I felt like I could have handled conditions differently and done better, and that's pretty great out of 16 tournaments, probably over
that's
30
amazing.
matches.
Yeah,
So 1 out of 30 was not bad at all. So I was very happy with last season.
3%.
There we go. Yeah,
I'll
so
bring it 97% efficiency, fist pump.
yeah, so hopefully I can mimic that next year.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting any pressure on it. I do love squash, so just want to maximize and do the best I can. And the better you do, the more you can play. So that's sort of the incentive.
Well, Marina, thank you so much for coming down and chatting with us. It's been great. We look forward to seeing you in the top 16 next year, and hopefully you'll come and talk to us again about that.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great. It's a wrap.